if it's new to you for today, I'm going to do a little bit of a different process, stick to mostly the script, but I'm going to add a few little nuggets of information that we've picked up throughout the week just from questions, and then just some additional things that I thought it would be good to show. So when we post these sessions on YouTube site, I'll try to notate what might be different about this one versus last session and things like that, because otherwise they're all going to be exactly the same. So anyways, without further ado, let's get into Salesforce.
People are insane charging $2,500. Are you crazy?
All right. So we are at our Salesforce test database again and our homepage, and this is going to be the example of our homepage dashboards, again with our current pipeline, forecast, and funnel as our kind of our sample test bed here. And then we're going to go into setting up our preferences to review real quick here, just kind of some of the initial what I call housekeeping items to set up when you get your accounts this coming Wednesday, since that's right around the corner. A couple of things you want to do when you get set up, and then not really have to come back to this too often. So again, we're going to go to our customize page here for our home page, and again review our personal information, making sure that everything's accurate from the standpoint of your email address down to the address of your physical location, office, things like that. Just making any changes that need to be made there, you can save those. Back again on our password. You're going to get the password set up when you get your account set up, but obviously you may want to change it. So come here to change my password to review what you have, and then set up a new one with the challenge phrase, as well as a reminder again that if you want to set up on a new device, a new laptop, desktop, or public computer, that you're going to have to authenticate for a second time, meaning you'll get a 5-digit code with your email or a text message on a mobile device, and enter that in and you're authenticated. So just a reminder of that. And then again, just for the options of changing our language and time zone for our offices, verifying that's correct, and then going through the localization of the menu items if you want to change those to your local language. That gives you that ability. Okay, so let's touch real quick here on just general layout again. We've got the ability to kind of customize some of our basic layout from the tab structure when it comes on here, so give it a second. We are migrating a lot of stuff today, so I might see a little bit of performance drag from what I'm used to seeing the last few weeks, because yesterday, today, and obviously tomorrow and into Wednesday, we will be doing the full boat of the migration into production. So we might see a little bit of a performance drag today, I've noticed, as I am already jumping out of that. Okay, here we go. So customize my tabs again. Just if you want to move these things around, basically is all this is. It's just saying that, if I want my home page to be in the middle or on the right, just know that you can make a few customizations if you want to, make it your own, or if you want to work with it just the default. Either way, you have that option to do that. As well as in the email settings, again, I'm going to go into an additional visual of the quoting Conga tool, the tool that generates our quote template and format. I'm going to go into a little bit of that so you guys can understand how this works from an email perspective. But again, a lot of email control that you can do within Salesforce, meaning if you want to send some correspondence out, you're not having to go back out to Outlook to do things. You can do it directly out of Salesforce, which is pretty cool, and again, available to you on the mobile device. But this is where you want to just add a possibly the same email signature you have on Outlook, and then again, this would be just your name here under email name, because this is our sales user test. And then you have these stay in touch settings. So again, going into a creation of a new contact, we'll go through that here in a little bit. Just talking about that you can modify these sort of template messages. When you create a new contact, you can just have it, kind of a courtesy stay in touch email sent out, or you can bypass that altogether. But either way, it just prompts you, and you can modify this to be your own language if you like. And then we're going to go into a couple things around chatter. So this is where we control some of the communication and notification for chatter, meaning the default for chatter is to get an email as well as the chatter inside the chatter application. So if somebody's sending you a quick link or asking you a question and you're in Salesforce and Chatter, you'll be able to see it there and respond there. But if you have this checked, you will also get an email about it And if you start using it heavily, you can see where that can pile up pretty quick. So this is where you kind of make these changes to dial up and down the notification frequency, meaning daily, weekly, or never, and then just save those changes and just kind of play around with that from the standpoint of your liking. All right. So Chatter Desktop is one of the applications that we can do as a desktop add-on. That's where you can just install the Chatter aspect of it to just run very similar to Microsoft Lync that you use today. That's another option where you can use Chatter without even having to be in Salesforce. And then, again, no Outlook integration, so do not download the desktop add-on for Outlook because that is not going to be supported. All right, so let's go jump back into our home page here, and then we're going to start off with our account creation and account visibility. So back again, we're going to go to the Accounts tab, and we're going to be presented with our recent account view, meaning this is the most recent activity of my sessions throughout the week. These are all the accounts that we've created, and this is what I typically see from my recent activity. So back to, again, from standpoint of searching for your accounts and validating that you can see what you can see when you get your live logins. You're going to be able to jump here to My Accounts and My Team Accounts, and this is where you're going to see the team accounts, obviously, are the accounts that you own as a RSM, and then you have additional counterparts mapped and tagged to those accounts that will be displayed under My Teams, and then anything that's just you're the sole owner, nobody else is involved in that account. From a system perspective, those will appear under My Accounts. These list views here, so as I'm switching these are kind of the defaults. All accounts, mine and my team, and then recently viewed, obviously pretty simple. But then in this session, I created one called Texas Accounts, meaning it's just going to return to me the accounts that I have from my billing region being, and billing state being Texas. So if I was, let's say I covered 10 states, whatever that might be, and I only want to see one state's accounts at a time, then this is the reason I would have created this one, to just bring back my Texas account so then I can just have my view and my snapshot of my Texas accounts or whatever that might be. Type can be selected, region, all kinds of different fields, and then we'll go into the opportunity section here to let you guys, or show you guys how to get that working. But these are just additional list views that, again, are helpful from the standpoint of refining data. When I want to just do a general search for an account, just say I only know the name of the account today, so I can go ahead up here to this global search box, which is available all over Salesforce, and I can start typing in a name, and then it'll start pulling up any recent names and search for that, and it's going to return the exact account if you select that, or if I just put in Denver and I do a search, then it's going to bring back associated things with the Denver name in it. So obviously, from an accounts perspective, it tells me there's 25 plus accounts that have the name Denver in them. So there's Denver Broncos, Denver ATV, University of Denver, etc., as well as products that are associated, quotes, opportunities from that standpoint of that account. Again, these are all areas that you can drill down on. So if I knew that what I indeed was looking for was the Denver Broncos, and I can drill down here an account name and get to where I needed to be. Or if I went ahead and finished out typing Denver Broncos, then I'd get that. So just kind of pretty easy to find stuff. Like I said, if you just know the name of the account, go ahead and search for it here. And as you get hits, again, from the importing of Siebel data that's going to come in, there'll still be activity and things that will be imported into those accounts. So it should be populated with quite a bit of stuff. Obviously, if there's an account that you had in Siebel that had no activity, meaning no quotes, no opportunities, no calendar activities, no contacts, then that's the way it's going to appear in Salesforce because it only brings in what was there in the first place. So, all right, so that was just a quick down and dirty, obviously, on how to search. It's really just as simple as that. I would say I'm skipping much because that's really it. So let's go through a scenario of creating a new one. So I've got a prospect customer I've met at a trade show, and they're interested in potentially talking to us later on down in the next few days or few weeks about some solutions. But I know we don't do business with them today, so I'm going to create them as a new prospect account. So I'm going to come here to New Account, and I have an option of creating them as a direct end user, or if they happen to be a channel partner, I would set them up as a channel partner. If we know that it's a reseller, an SI, a type of organization, we could set them up as a channel partner. So we've been doing direct here as our samples. So we're going to pick on direct, and then again, next screen is two fields that are required, the account name and the type. So we're going to pick another basketball team today, since we just went earlier today, and then we're going to go back to the one we created earlier today, the Houston Rockets, to show you guys some options of what we've done from being able to show you guys some different changes from opportunities and quotes, and then generating the quote. So we'll go into that. All right, so today we're going to do the Memphis Grizzlies. If I can type. I can't type. All right, and then we are asked to create this as a end customer prospect or service. So again, in our example here, we're going to go with prospect, meaning should be a sort of a net new account, no business, no historical. We can key in a website or a phone number here if we happen to have the information, but those two fields are what's required. So once we click Save, we're asked to do the next step, which is going to be create an address. So again, with being this being a net new account, we would have hopefully have the address from an email or a business card, so we can key that in here in new address. We select that, and then we're going to pick a name for our location, so that could be headquarters, or I'm calling it home court. Put in an address and country, state, zip, all that good stuff. Let's fill that out. Zip code.
Turn it off.
U.S. dollar, obviously, because it's a North America account. And again, we reemphasize Salesforce primary is the checkbox that needs to be selected. No bill to or ship to, but Salesforce primary just needs to be selected when we come out of the gate. We should have that automated in future revisions, but that needs to be checked off to make sure that that gets funneled through the process. So once we do that, we're ready to save that again, and then this gives us just general basics of the account detail. What I've been doing here is just going back to my accounts tab, and then again, my Memphis Grizzly account here would pop up as the most recent at the very top, so I know that's set up. Once I click on it again, that's going to map the address into a Google Maps section here, and then I can validate when I created it, obviously, and then I'm the owner, the sales user test example. And then again, I've got an account team default set up where I've got myself set up as the pre-sales SC. System automatically mapped that. So what we've been doing is going through examples of adding an additional team member. So if I need to add an additional rep or an engineer, I can do that through here. So I just start typing in their last name and pull that up. We're just going to go with Mike Baker today. Give that person read-write access to the account so they can modify records. Simple team role here of setting them up as a sales rep, and then click and save, and that's it, and I'm done. I have now shared this account with my default, obviously, and then I added Mike Baker here as an additional person that can work on this as well. Okay, so now we have kind of the basics of the account, and that's really all we need. We're pretty much ready to go to start doing the next steps, which would be an opportunity. So what we have here, and then let's go ahead and do, in this step, let's go ahead and do a new contact. So we've got, the business card again. We're going to pick a fictional player here. Last name and email. FG. All right. So we save that. And then here's our reminder prompt of what we covered here in the beginning of just this, just created a new contact. Is it a good time to send a stay in touch email? So if I hit yes, that's what would launch that initial template that I showed you guys that you can modify. And if I hit no, I'm done. And then you can click on don't show this again. If you choose to not do that, that's fine. It's not a policy, but that's an option for you. If you guys want to send an email, that's cool. You can do that. We're just going to hit no. And then we're done with that, but just know that that's what you get from a prompt perspective. So now we've got this account, we've got this contact set up for the Memphis Grizzlies, and from this screen, if we knew we were done with this, then we can do a couple of different things. We can go back to the account by drilling down on Memphis Grizzlies, or if we're ready to create a new opportunity, we can do it here as well. So just kind of various things from a next step action item thing you can do from the screen itself. So I've created this contact, and I always want to go back to the account. So I just want to validate a couple other things. I drill down into that account, and now I'm here with, again, my filled out address, my account team, my contact, and then we're good to go. So what we do here is, proceed to our quick accelerated time frame next step, which would be, I've had another conversation with the Grizzlies, and they're now interested in talking to us about a couple of different solutions. So we're going to go through two scenarios of just setting up a kind of a basic placeholder opportunity, and then pretend we've got a next level opportunity that we're ready to forecast and quote. For the sake of time, we'll run through those. So if we're ready to just do a placeholder right now, we'd be in the account. We could come down here to new opportunity, and that gets us into the next step. Or, just as I've been showing, there's a couple of different areas here as well. These are also shortcuts in this abbreviated menu. These are also shortcuts to get to these same things. So if I want to do a new opportunity, I can hover over opportunities here and click on new opportunity, but it's kind of a little squirrely with your mouse. Sometimes you have to make sure you're in the box. As you guys are used to probably on some websites, they're a little strange with hovering the mouse over certain sections. They're a little tricky, so I just like to go down to new opportunity here and scroll and click here because I've got a solid button. Okay. So from a type perspective, we're presented with three options. We've got direct sales, indirect, and trial. Direct sales and the opportunity descriptions are below here. Direct sales is obviously just going to be end user prospect account. Indirect sales is going to be if that's going to include a partner. So if the Memphis Grizzlies work with a channel partner, we can create an indirect and have them added as well. And then that creates the functionality to allow their pricing discounts to be calculated in the quote. And then from a trial perspective, the same process just flags this as a opportunity type trial, so we can start to get the balls rolling on setting up a demo and a trial and moving that forward. So we're going to do a direct sales here. We're going to go to continue, and again we're asked to create an opportunity name. So we're going to create a fictional name here. Going to map the account automatically for me. I got to pick a close date. So let's pick July 1st, and then our sales stage we have to select. Again, so these are the 7 sales stages. These are the condensed ones from Siebel that we brought over, so there's now just 7. 1 through 3 do not require being part of the forecast or a quote generated, meaning you won't be prompted to generate a quote. And then anything above 3, of course, will require that. So in this example here to test out, we're going to start with prospect 1 just as a placeholder. We save that, and we're kind of done. Meaning, if you just want to have something fired off in the system to make the next steps, or come back to it later on in the day, whatever, we could do that. We can make some modifications to these. So we didn't have obviously an amount. I have been asked to talk about that, and the amount can be filled in, but again, it doesn't drive anything. It's really just maybe for a mental note. If you know they want to buy one particular piece of hardware or one particular piece of software, and that usually goes for $5,000, and that's all they're going to buy. Well, you can place that in there as $5,000, but again, it's really just a placeholder. It doesn't drive any functionality, and I'll show you why, and I'll show you where we can make that change. So it can be there, but some folks may choose to not do too many opportunities at sales stage 1. Some people may just go directly into the sales stage where you're going to start a quote, but either way, it can be populated if you need it. But just from a simplicity standpoint, to expedite getting something done and not require 15 steps to get an opportunity in there, we designed it to just have 4 basic fields to be required, which theoretically is just 3 because the account is already brought in. All right, so we're going to just leave this as a sales stage 1, and then again we can come back to this anytime and make those changes. All right, so then let's switch gears and just say, you know what, we're ready. These guys called us back, or we had another meeting, and they're ready to go ahead and start getting a quote to start putting this in their budget for this month or next quarter as an example. So we need to go ahead and get an opportunity push forward to the next stage so we can create a quote. So we'd come back to this from multiple different places. You could come back to it from the account. You can come back to it from the opportunity page. Lots of different ways, but if we know we're in the opportunities here, we just drill down on the opportunity name, and we can click edit and make that sales stage change here. Or If we're at the opportunity from this screen, we can also just double-click on the sales stage and get ourselves to 4. Okay? So we're going to go to sales stage 4, and we're going to save, and then show you guys what you get prompted with. So it's going to the system's going to require a requested ship date and a requested on-site date. The requested ship date obviously has to be beyond July 1st because I've got a close date here of July 1st. If you select something prior, it'll error out and just let you know that you need to make that change. So let's go here to July 24th. And then again, the on-site date would obviously be something beyond July 24th unless we can miraculously ship and deliver the same day, but I don't think we can. So let's pick the 31st. And then again, we hit save. And then our next prompt is right here where it's telling us a quote has to be created before the opportunity probability hits 70. And all this is just a reminder to let you know that, if you're at sales stage 4 and we're at 70%, then, obviously this is going to have to be rolled into the forecast and included. So this is going to require a quote to be created. Now, this is a prompt. This is not a lock you into the screen. This does allow you to move off and step off of this record, work on other things. You take a look at some other quotes, look at some customers, whatever it is, you can go back to it any time, but just know you'll get this every time. So then if we are at this stage where, again, we know we're going to do a quote, we change our sales stage. We're at 4, we're at 70%. And then what we want to do here is just go to create a new quote. So that's going to be down here in the middle of the page. So we're going to select new. And we're required to put in a quote name. It automatically populates it with the opportunity name, but we can call it anything you want. And then we need to map a price book. So in this sample here, it's a North America customer, so we're going to go with the U.S. domestic list. And then the expiration date, it's a default of 30 days. You can't override that by keying in your own expiration date if you want. If you leave it blank, just know that that's 30 days. And then at this stage here, if we know we want professional services, we're going to leave this check boxed, and then I'll show you guys where that is an actionable thing on the quote itself to submit that to professional services. If we do not want any support type, it's going to default to none right now in this example, but we can also just select Care or Care Plus, meaning that when we get to the quote, it's going to map those Care Plus SKUs and calculate the dollar value of whatever we sell that for. So that's kind of the way that's built in. So let's pick none now just for time's sake. So we're done with this. We just go ahead and hit save, and then we are ready to key in some line items. All right. So we are here at this screen, and we can jump to the line items page by either clicking on Edit Quote Line Items button up here at the top, or we can just scroll down and get to our quoting area. So as I mentioned on prior calls, we're just going to kind of skim over a quote. Lane Lobaugh is doing the deep dive quote training this week, and he's been doing training calls offset of mine. So if I had a 3, he had a 2. If I had a 9, he had a 10. It's an example, and then we have those going on tomorrow as well. So if you are still interested in that, send Lane Lobaugh an email, and he can add you to the calendar invites for that deeper dive training. But we're just going to go into skim the surface of this one. Okay, so we're here at the quote line item screen, and we're going to do new here if we got a new line items that we need to key in. This takes us to our Find Products page, which is going to be the section that has all of our products by product name, by part number, sectioned off by product line. You can build queries and select what you want to filter by here, which means you can just select different kind of fields to bring in. Obviously, if you have a keyword, maybe a part number partially memorized, or even that, you can key that in. In our test database here, we have just a limited amount of products, so I'm going to pick just a couple here as some items to bring in. So I'm going to check these off. I'm going to hit select. I get taken to the quantity screen. So we're going to change that real quick. We're not going to add any additional discounts just to save some time. And then we've got these line items added. And notice here, because I had the professional services checked, it added the professional services SKU in here. And then I'll show you guys where the next step is for that to facilitate communicating that to that group. All right, so in the quote itself, we've got line items. We have a couple, again, just touching on some simple functionality. We have the ability to move these line items in the order that we choose, and it's a simple drag and drop. So if I want professional services to be here at the bottom, I just drag that down to the bottom, and now it appears as the last item. Real simple. These default solution set names, these can be modified. It's going to always be called default by default. And if we want to rename it, we're just going to click on rename here, and then we're going to change that to a different name. Tap off of that and save. Now it's called hardware options. So we can also create additional solution sets. We can rearrange those as well. We can nest them inside of each other. We can mark them as optional, meaning they will highlight themselves as red and then not appear on the quote from a dollar perspective, but just the options that may be suggested. A lot of different things you can do. Again, in Lane's training, he covers a little bit more, much more in-depth dive if you are a quote creator, or if you like to learn a little bit more how to do that, he covers that. All right, so we've got some line items here. We're good to go. So let's cover what all these good buttons do here to run through that. So again, back to PS notifications. I had professional services here. So when I select that, there's some background activity that's going to happen. It's going to tell you that you successfully submitted the quote to professional services. And then that really just gives the PS organization a chance to review this opportunity. They're in their instance of Salesforce called Proforce, and they can see all this activity as well. So whatever dialogue, whatever conversations need to be had, you would be reviewing and talking about that same opportunity, so they would have the same visibility as yourself. So then if that's all good to go, everybody's agreed that that's the right amount, whatever, then we're set. All right, so then let's talk about our sync functionality in relation to the forecast. So syncing is essentially what's going to marry up the opportunity with the quote in terms of the dollar value, and then rolling it up into the forecast. So in this one here, we've got one for $1,888, I believe, from just what we've added up here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Start Sync, which is going to start that process. It's just going to tell you that it's moving the line items to the opportunity products. I'm going to hit OK, and it's done. And then now that's going to change from start to stop, and then our syncing button is now selected, meaning that now I've got this opportunity reflective of this dollar amount, and it's in that 70% stage, and it is now part of the forecast. All right, so that's pretty much it from setting that up. The next step would be a submit for approval, which is, again, in our test database here, we've got a single layer of approval, meaning it's going to submit and send this quote off to a designated individual for them to review and validate it, bless it, whatever, and say this is fine and approve it. This is kind of set up for future functionality, meaning that some criteria could be set up, and that will be created and modified either in the next coming days or the next coming weeks, depending on what management decides. But submit for approval right now, just so you can see what it looks like. This would send this to, in our test database here, to Lane, and then you can come down here to look at the approval history to see what's happening with it. So I've submitted the quote. It's in pending status for Lane to review. It's going to give me an overall status of pending. Once he approves it, that would change to approve, and then that would turn green into approved status. And then that's pretty much it. So let's pretend that it's already done, and we're good to go. So again, the next step is we're going to create our proposal, and that's what the Create Proposal button does, and that is going to generate the PDF or Word document of our general proposal template, same as what we use today in Siebel. So we're going to click on Create Proposal, and then that's going to launch Conga Composer, which is our rendering tool that's integrated into Salesforce to generate these documents. And then here's where I'm going to jump into a few additional things that you guys may be interested in or want to see that I hadn't shown in prior trainings, but I want to cover this off. So again, we're displayed here with 4 templates, meaning we've got two A4 templates and 2 regular templates. The A4 is for EMEA team for their paper size formatting. And then we've got two different versions for discount displayed and equipment list, meaning the discount displayed would show the discounts that you reflected in those line items. All right, so all we got to do is really click on one of these and hit merge and download, and that will launch our either PDF or Word. But I did want to cover that here we want to make sure if you have not put in a contact into that opportunity, which you normally would, if it has been, it's always going to be selected here, but if we selected it in the opportunity to make sure it's mapped to that account and opportunity, it will automatically populate, but it will show up here as well. So just so you can see, this is actually going to go to this person named Kyle Brewer. And then we have two options. We have Adobe PDF, again in Word, and download would mean that it's just going to download it to your desktop and let you open it up in PDF or Word, obviously Microsoft Word or Adobe PDF. And then that's pretty simple. So let's go through both of them in the email. I'll show you guys as well. So download, we're going to select, we're going to pick here the equipment list, and we're going to hit merge and download. And this runs through, this process takes just a few seconds, and then it'll give us the prompt of when to open up our Word document. All right, so here we would go open, and voila, we have our Microsoft Word document that opens up the quote itself. Okay, so pretty self-explanatory. I mean, just the basic cover page. Here are our products, and the terms and conditions are part of the document. And this is something that's can be saved off wherever you want, but it's automatically going to be saved in the Salesforce record. And then the other cool thing that you can do is, maybe this is not necessarily let's just say let's change gears here and just say this is a customer I've already done this before, and I know exactly what it's going to go to, so I can just email it. I'm ready to go. I'm confident that what we're going to quote is exactly what they want. No other modifications or changes are needed, so I'm just going to email this directly to my customer from here, or we can do that. We can just change this to email, and now that changes to merge an email. And then that kind of goes through the same process, but then that's going to take me to my email template. So let's let that run through a few seconds. Okay. So again, this is telling me that it's coming from me, who's my sales user test, again, the dummy user. I can select somebody here independently as well. So I'm going to pick my Kyle Brewer character here. And then this is, ability to see exactly what you're doing here basically is not having to go to Outlook, right? So just staying right in Salesforce and never having to jump back up to some other application. I'm ready to go with this. I can put a subject in here, and I can say, hey, Kyle, please review this quote. Okay? And I can attach something else to it. I can verify my spelling, all that good stuff. I mean, so there's some additional cool stuff that I can do here. But either way, I just wanted to show you guys as an example that I can send this off right out of Salesforce. I never had to jump out. And then here's my attachment. This is the quote itself, that Word doc. It's all attached here. So I just wanted to, kind of run through that to show you guys that this is something really cool that's inside of Salesforce. I don't have to jump back out. I've got my document attached. I've got my ability to email it right out there, so here's my attachments. And, this is really handy, just from the standpoint of just showing you guys we're staying in the same record, we're staying in the same activity, we've got it all consolidated into one area, not having to jump out to a lot of different places is really, really nice. So, all right, so let's cover real quick from the standpoint of looking at the fact that we've got this one synced, and then we may come back the next day and say, you know what, I need to make a quick modification to that quote, so I may need to change it. So what I can do is, from the opportunity itself, I'm looking at, here's my quote 36570. Here's the Imagine quote number. That's the actual official number. And then it says that I'm syncing it. And V1 here, again, is our version 1. In other words, we've got only one version of this quote that we're working on. But if I want to go ahead and do another one, in other words, make a second revision, I'm going to go back up here and hit Revise Quote. So it's just going to ask me to confirm it. And now I have version 2. And then I can go and, add whatever I want, modify whatever I want. And then what I want to do is, let's say I've built this out and I've made some changes to it, and now I know version 2 is going to be the one they're going to buy, so we're going to go and say, well, I need to sync that one up. So this is where, once you get into a multi-quote type of situation, this is where you just want to keep this straight, but I'll show you where to do that. So we would hit Stop Sync to remove any of those from being synced up. We've got, back here in the Memphis Grizzlies, we now have we now have one opportunity. Again, this one is called May Systems again. And now we've got two quote versions, version 1, version 2. So now that I'm on version 2 as an example, I drill down on it. Now I hit Start Sync. Same process again. Now I'm synced up with version 2. So obviously I didn't change any dollar values here, but if I would have made some changes, and let's say that was now $10,000 instead of $1,800, now my new forecast and my new quote is kept in sync and is forecasted for the correct amount. I can keep going back and forth, or I can just obviously make those changes, but just know that an opportunity can only have one of those versions of the quote synced at a time, so whatever the most current, most relevant quote is what needs to be synced up to drive your forecast accurately. So that's the understanding behind that. All right, so let's go through real quick with opportunities, and let's cover off some of these views, because I've been trying to focus a little bit more on making sure you guys understand the value of creating some of these list views for your opportunities, since you do tend, sales reps, obviously, in opportunities is where we spend a lot of time from the standpoint of managing our pipeline, making modifications, growing, closing things, all that stuff it's probably 60% of the activities in Salesforce revolve around opportunities anyways. So let's make sure that we can view what we want to view and view what we need to view quickly and just kind of clear out the noise. All right, so again, opportunities, I'm here. I've got my list views. I've got my opportunities, my teams, and all, just like I did in accounts. And I've got, the most recent activity again reflected. So pretty much the same interface, no different. It's pretty consistent. So what I've done here is I've created a couple of options to view some different things for myself. So I've got closed won business. I've got forecasted opportunities. I've got them broken down by quarter. And then I've got one called new columns, which I've just added some additional data to view. So again, if I go into close one, this is just going to return what's in my close one status regardless of the quarter or date. It's just saying anything I've got in my pipeline that's at stage closed one, bring that back. So now, you could just refine down if you're looking at what you got for the quarter as an example. You know exactly what it is and what it's comprised of, so then you can drill down onto that. Again, here from Q1, same thing. It's just going to focus on opportunities that were generated in Q1 that have a Q1 close date, regardless of my probability or whatever. I actually added a couple of extra columns here as well when I created it as an example if I want to track that. So again, if you kind of follow the process here, it's a really nice way to just get to your data that you want for a specific reason. So this is kind of what I call visual reporting, just telling the system to report back to me what I'm asking for and what kind of level of detail I want to see. So all we were doing here from the standpoint of creating these things is you need to be in one of the defaults, so either my teams or all, and I'm going to hit create new view here, and this is where I come make these modifications. So I can create the name that I want to track, and then I have to select my opportunities, and then select the criteria of what I want to bring in. So this could be close date, close quarter, whatever that could be. Lots of different choices here, but anything here from a close date, I would say it needs to be greater than September 30th for Q4 business as an example. So if I don't have anything in here now, closing in Q4, then it should come back blank, which makes sense. But as soon as I start adding opportunities that end up having an October, November, December close date, then this view will start getting populated. So I can save these now and just go ahead and create them. In my old sales days when I was in Siebel, I used to save all of these views, per quarter ahead of time, because we had quite a bit of pipeline that was flowing in automatically from our residual business, from what I used to do. So I used to create all these views again to just kind of cut to the chase and get to my visibility so I can work on stuff quicker. And again, the whole point of this is so you're not spending all your time in the CRM system. You're actually getting back to work and selling. So that's really the benefit of these things, is to make sure that you guys can see that. All right, so an additional thing I wanted to show is we're going to go through a couple of these opportunities to reflect these back into the dashboard, so you can kind of see how these things are being updated. So again, back from our home page, we had this default dashboard which showed our pipeline, and these would be opportunities in the 20 to 60 range, my forecast, which would be 70 to 90%, and then a funnel. So we kind of look at, we've been playing with this one here for the forecast, where we have a large amount in this forecast commit. So then we're going to go and just do a pretend scenario where we're going to go and, we had a great week and we closed a bunch of deals, so let's go ahead and close some of these out, some of these bigger ones. So we're going to take this Selenial Flex Live here for the Seattle Mariners, and we're going to close that one out. We're going to hit save. And we're going to take this one here, this Cloud DVR for the Denver Broncos. We're going to change this one to close one. We're just having a bang-up week here. We're going to go to the Selenial for Burst Communications, and we're also going to close that one. Again, we got 3 big POs came in, and we are closing some business. So let's view this now. We're going to say, okay, I've got all this stuff in close one. So we could come back, a couple minutes later, a couple hours later, a couple days later, and we would now have that reflected in our dashboard. So let's just do it from, again, quick point of view. So we close these 3 out. So this is roughly around, $250,000 or so of business that are now at sales stage 6. So now if we came here to our home page and saw our dashboard, we click refresh, and now this should update my middle dashboard to take out what's no longer in that sales stage. So that will refresh, takes a few seconds, and then that will change. Okay, so now my chart dynamically changed from the standpoint of, getting that stuff off of that additional sales stage out of the 70-90%. So you can kind of see just as you're moving your pipeline along and you go back to look at your dashboards, it should accurately reflect whatever you've been making modifications to. And again, these are some default dashboards. There'll be some additional ones created in the future. Tense meaning management may want to, track some different metrics, whatever they want to do. We will push out new dashboards in the future, and we'll show you guys where to make those changes. So again, this is the consolidated sort of condensed view. If you want to see the big version of it, you go here to dashboards, and you're going to see kind of the larger screen version of the same dashboard that also included a pipeline by business unit and 1 opportunities. And then this is where you can make some additional viewpoints of this data. So from a dashboard perspective, again, you have some abilities to dynamically drill down into this activity. So if I'm here and I want to see what's left in my 04 forecasted commit, I just drill down, and now I get taken to the report screen, which means these deals are what that percentage of that pie chart consists of. So now I can see that all the details of these accounts, and then I can also drill down directly into these opportunities. So I can go back here from this page and jump into the Mayflowers opportunity, for example. So again, a shortcut to where you can actually make some actionable clicks from looking at data versus just kind of pretty charts, which is kind of nice. All right, so let's see, we got about 10 or 12 minutes left, so I'm going to jump over to Chatter real quick so we can talk about that as well, and then bring up some additional options of some of the things that we can do. So again, Chatter is the social interaction or social networking internal to Salesforce. It allows us to communicate and talk about business, talk about deals, talk about support, talk about all kinds of things. But when we go live here this Wednesday, again, this is the method that we're going to deploy to sort of provide initial support from how to, helping people, figure things out, navigate, how to click to get to this screen, maybe some shortcuts, tips and tricks, that kind of stuff. We can address it very quickly and efficiently here in Chatter. So from a standpoint of how it works, it's pretty simple from looking at, our feed. So it's very similar to like a Twitter feed or Facebook feed where you're just kind of seeing what people are, posting, what people are talking about. Could be about nothing, could be about, something important, could be sharing information about a deal, could be talking about a new product, could be talking about a product rumor, whatever it might be. This is kind of where we want to share this data. So we have our feed, which again will display our normal activity and the people that we follow. And then what we're going to do is we're going to set up groups for support. So in our production database, we'll have support groups called North America, EMEA, Asia, and Latin America, of course, and that will be, if you're in those regions, you can join that. And that's going to be the group that will be talking about whatever kind of topics might be, hot for the day as an example. So in our test database here, we've got a quoting one that talks about quoting a lot. We've got 20 members as part of this group, and I'm the one who founded this one as an example. And if you want to join it, you just click join and you're good to go. Anybody that set up a private group, it reverts to ask to join, and it'll show you who the owner is. That will send a notification to that person to allow you to be in that group. So as we're talking about feeds and how this stuff kind of bubbles up and how this makes sense is when people are talking about things, these recommendations here are going to continue to populate throughout the day. So if somebody keeps talking about a certain product line where it's Selenium Flex, here's an example of, 30 people have talked about it today, it might start bubbling up here as a popular topic and specifically who's talking about it, and then you can choose to follow that person or follow that group if it's relevant to you. So that's how trending topics work. If you want to post something, obviously you have your feed box, and you can type in here into the post box, and this goes out to your followers. So anything you type in here, will go out to your followers. You hit share, and this is now going to be sent out on the timeline, the feed. People can make comments on it. People can attach files if there was something, for that reason to attach a file to it. And then the more likes you get, obviously, again, the same thing, the more that bubbles up into a relevancy factor, so that becomes more popular, or you can share that out to any other individuals. From a post perspective, if you're wanting to send a post and direct it to a person, as well as your followers, you can hit the @ sign and start typing in their last name. That brings in them, and then you can type in whatever you want there. Share that out, as well as if you want to post about a topic, so about a product line as an example. We've been using the Selenium here. You use the hashtag or the # sign, start typing in the product name, and then that will populate. And the same thing, start talking about whatever you want there and share that. As well, here in the post, you can attach files. So if you have a document or picture, PDF, whatever it is you want to attach from that post perspective, you can also attach hyperlinks. So a lot of different ways that we can share and collaborate. That's really the main benefit of this. So what I wanted to bring up as an example as well, in the groups, in the files, if I wanted the other option that I had, which was kind of cool. Remember when we were in the quote and the Conga Composer, we had the ability to email? Well, you can also have it send to Chatter, meaning that when you generate that quote, if you want to sort of internally send it to somebody from a Chatter perspective, you could actually do that, meaning that you could have that essentially show up in their feed, and that would be a link to that document. So think about just instead of placing it somewhere, or default to our normal old way of doing things would be adding it as an attachment to an email. You can actually just send that to Chatter, and then it would actually show up here under their documents files owned by me. So here's an example of one I did earlier before we got on the call. So it says owned by me, means I'm the one who sent this, and here's that imagined quote that will again open up here in this tiny little screen. But you can see here, now I can look at my quote. And the same thing, I can blow it up, I can make it bigger, and I can share. I can share this out. I can upload a new version. So a lot of cool ways just to kind of, again, stay in the system and collaborate without having to jump all over different applications. If you think about it, you can really manage quite a bit of your day just being in here. If you're working with customers, you're working from opportunities, you're working out of quotes, there's a lot of benefits to staying in the system. So that's kind of what I wanted to show. We had, the other support options that we got out there for, say, defects, any kind of corrupt data or just chronic things that you're seeing, a button's not working or erroring out. We're kind of wanting to set up the case structure for that because, again, we're not going to be, we're not necessarily going to be using the My Help Desk, the Imagine Help Desk for tickets for this because of the VPN process that is required, since this is going to be not VPN'd in at all. So we set up this to internally handle some of these support cases, and all you have to do is just go to the cases object, which we'll have here as a default, and create a new case, which means just really 2 fields. Key in that, put in whatever you want as the problem, and then hit save. And the sales operations team will be working kind of that queue, and we'll be able to take a look at what those are and either course correct that or escalate that to our developer guys and have those things fixed. Whatever it is, if it's a chronic issue, reserve that for the cases, and if it's more how-to or, help me navigate, or I forgot how you showed me to do something, we'll utilize Chatter for that. So that's kind of the methods that we're deploying to, again, to keep it all cohesive effort here and put it all together in Salesforce and not have to have everybody jump out to two different things to communicate. So that's kind of the spirit of that is what we're trying to foster here. So anyway, that is kind of the brief that I wanted to do, obviously, on some additional things. So do you guys have any questions or anything that came up here from our call notes?